Ah, it's a book. Hello, my name is Noah-ish, I am an illustrator, and I am so glad that in the next update we can craft name tags. I've only been able to get one, which isn't great. Actually, by the time you're seeing this video, the update is probably already out, so should I have waited? Probably. Luckily, I also have somewhere in here another name tag that I found in a chest at some point, which means we can name some of these guys. First is this mule, and he is named Muesli. And this horse was one that I brought into the nether so I can spear wither skeletons. Back in that episode, I asked for some name suggestions, and it was surprisingly hard to pick. So I decided to mash together some names, and we get Scorch the Toasted. Thank you to everyone who suggested a name. What? We also have these llamas, which were acquired in a very ethical manner, We have so many of these guys now that I think they deserve a stable, and it can pretty much just go right here where they're already standing. We will need to shave down this cliff though. We can have a triangular plot of land, and the building can be at an angle. Let us put down the beacon and bring it down. I still need to do a lot more terraforming back here. There's a lot of unfinished backs, as you can see, but we can worry about that at a different time. Before we get to drawing, I'm gonna put down some wool just so I know how much space we have. Alright, just a simple diagonal rectangle. I'm thinking maybe 8 stalls? Though it might be more fun and more visually interesting if there's a bit more sticky outy bits. Alright, time to draw. I started off trying to figure out the basic shape of this building. I did try to make it more interesting with the sticky outy bits like I mentioned, but in the end I guess I just like really simple shapes. I know it's kind of boring when the building is just a rectangle, but we could still add some interest to it by putting in things like dormer windows, windows for each stall, big barn doors for the opening, and the little room on the side that's for storage. And also just having the building at an angle is also going to help with it being more visually interesting. Okay, so right now the diagonal might be a bit too steep. I think it can work for the outside walls. The windows might look a bit weird, but it could still work. The problem is on the inside. The stalls are also going to have to be diagonal, and I'm not sure that really works with walls and fences. I don't think horses can walk through this gap, but it just looks wrong. I mean, we could add more walls, but then it just looks really messy and jaggedy. So instead of this perfect 45-degree diagonal, I think we can make the diagonal less steep so that it's easier to put in the stalls. This is what I ended up with. It does look a bit strange from above, but from down here, it looks alright. I'm happy with this placement as well, so we should find a spot to stand and draw. First, we're gonna do a quick thumbnail sketch to figure out the composition. For the terraforming behind the stable, I'm gonna shape and neaten up the cliffs a little bit, and add some trees and bushes. I also like the idea of some cliffs in the distance. We won't get to these today, but it's good to keep in mind for future plans. I'm also thinking that these mid-level cliffs can eventually go and connect to the backs of the unfinished terraforming that we have. The stable itself is pretty straightforward. The base can be some sort of stone, and the upper part is wood. For the roof, we're gonna do the same as the other buildings in this area and use deep slate. Alright, let's hope that our friends like this. For the bottom half, I am thinking we can use tuff. I'll just put in these bricks, and we can add in the different variations later. And for the wood above, I don't want to make it oak, because it'll look too similar to my house. And spruce might be too dark, so we shall go with stripped jungle. And a not so steep roof with some slabs. I usually like the no overhang look, and I think it could work for this, especially on the side, But on this side here, this I might put an overhang on. Because I'm imagining the horses in their stalls, sticking their head out. And if it's raining, you don't want their heads to get wet. And for this flat side, I'm gonna use the trick with the stairs underneath the roof. It just adds a tiny bit of depth, so it's not completely flat like what it looks like over here. But because the roof isn't made of stairs, we are gonna do something a bit different. We're gonna do it this way. Oh, it's not perfect, but it still works. Alright, windows. I think I can just take some trapdoors and divide the space up into 3 little boxes. I'm wondering if the window should be one more up. Inside here, there's gonna be a loft, and if the windows are there, there isn't that much room. Maybe we can lift the roof a tiny bit? And the ones up here are also stairs. How does this look? Better? I think it's better. Which means I do need to redo the roof. Wait. And then it goes like... Wait, nope. That's like that. Yes, okay. I don't know why this was so hard. Come on. Windows. Roof done. Things are looking good. Oh, it's raining. I guess it's a good time to go inside. Ooh, a dancing block. Hey! For this door, I'm thinking we can actually widen it. We can use walls so that it's ever so slightly bigger. Wait, why is this 1 block wide? Something's wrong. Okay, I fixed it. Kind of. The stalls on this side are 6 blocks, but over here, it's only 4 blocks. And that's just how it is, I guess. So I'm gonna pretend that this doesn't bother me. Okay, I'm gonna try one more time. They're at it again. Please leave my llamas alone. Are you shooting my llama? Oh no. Oh. Oh, I'm so sorry. Maybe we'll find you a friend later. Alright, I've come to terms with the fact that this side will have 6, and this side will have 4. And at least the view from out here down the hallway is looking pretty good. And we can't forget about the little dormer window. It took multiple attempts to try to make it look right, until I ended up with this. Then I continued on with the storage at the back. Also, there was another pillager patrol. Seriously, where are they coming from? Ooh, idea. What if we put the stair roof upside down? And then make this a full block. Why haven't I done this before? It looks so much better. I can even do it over here. The roof angle looks so much smoother without the full blocks making it look all jagged. I'm starting to wonder if this front part should also be at an angle. I think that's part of the reason why it looks so weird from the top. Because the building is slanted this way, but because the front is straight, it just looks skewed instead of at an angle. To figure this out, let's go into a creative world. So right now, this is the shape that we have. And I'm thinking we could just stagger the front and the back. So it would look something like this. If we bring up the walls, put in the doors and the windows, it looks pretty good. The roof might be a bit more complicated, but I think this is the right way to go. To make this easier, I'm gonna tear down some of this and just rebuild it. I ended up needing a guideline to figure out the roof. What the? How are you here? Oh my gosh. Again? Stop it. Leave him alone. There you go. Heal up, buddy. Okay, come here. Where'd the Muesli? Come on. I'm gonna bring you guys closer to me, so the pillagers will stop spawning on top of you guys, hopefully. Well, I finished rebuilding the stable, and I don't think the diagonal looks too weird. From above, it looks so much better as well. Whoa. Hello, zombie. Eh. I suppose I should light this up a bit. Now that the basic shape of the stable is in, we can start on the smaller details, like the sliding barn door. For this, I'm gonna do a design that I typically like to do. Just some slabs, chains, grindstone, and then carpet on the top. What should I do with the diagonal for this door? I could just put it down like normal, like this, but then we have this awkward gap behind it. And if we just go completely with the diagonal, then it just looks even worse. Maybe as a middle ground, I can offset these trapdoors, and if the shelf is backwards, yeah, there's a tiny bit of an angle there. These should be dark oak, and because this is a shelf, we can put in a little door handle. Oh, geez. Why are there so many of you today? Ouch. Going on inside, I talked about having a loft up here, so let's put that in. And now it's time to put in the stalls. Again. I got it! The stalls are even now. Each one has 6 blocks. Yay! It's looking good from out here too. Alright, let me quickly finish up this loft area. And we need the shutters for the windows. Let's use jungle trapdoors on the top for good ventilation. It might be nice to change out some of these bottom blocks for walls. Just adds a bit more dimension to it. What? Again? You guys, why are you tormenting me? I know it's been a while since my last episode, but did you guys miss me or something? Alright, it's time to terraform the background. So we need to shape up the cliff faces, bring it up a little. This middle platform doesn't really need to change. And then we need to do the trees and the bushes on the very top. And a new tree right beside the stable. And for this tree on the right, I'm thinking of changing the leaves a bit so that it's a bit more bigger and fluffier. I like the sort of visual diagonal that's happening, where it leads your eye towards the stable. It's not really super important, but I like thinking about stuff like this because it helps with the composition. Alright, let me quickly terraform this cliff. It is also not textured yet, but I figured I could just do all of that at the very end. Let's take a look at this old tree. I made this forest pretty early on in the series, and I like to think that I've gotten better at making trees. First, I'm gonna get rid of some of these glass panes, but what's more important is the fact that I really jam-packed this thing full of leaves. There needs to be a lot more air gaps. I don't want to completely change this tree and start from scratch, but I will add more branches, maybe a low-hanging branch down here. It might look better if I tore this tree down and built a new one, but I kind of wanted to keep the basic shape of this. This tree's been here for a while, so it kind of holds sentimental value, even if it doesn't look the best. And now we can start on the new tree. Tree done. Next is the foliage up there. Right, I should extend this platform. One day we will connect all this terrain together. First tree goes here. It's close. Right here. The birch leaves that I'm using are a bit see-through because of the texture. So I'm just gonna mix in some oak leaves so the tree looks a bit more dense than it actually is. While I'm at it, I'm just gonna add some birch leaves to this tree as kind of like a shadow. There's llamas in my tree. Hello. Would you like to become friends with my other llama? Yes, you do. Oh, he's dancing. Nope. Yay! And you too, please. Let's just put you in here with the rest. Right, I had to put these guys in here because they were attacking pillagers again. Yeah, it was a mess. back to foliage. And I was kind of in the groove of it, so I finished off the texturing of the cliffs. So the texturing of this upper part is kind of like a simplified version of what I did over here. And down here, I imagine it to be more shadowed and maybe a bit more damp. So there's the tuff and the pale moss. Continuing on with the texturing, I want to make it look like the sunlight is filtering through the leaves. I admit this never looks super perfect, but I keep trying. Maybe one day I'll get it. Adding in some lighter spots with the azalea bushes, maybe leaves in the ground for the darker shadows. And you always gotta try terracotta. Not too bad. I might be a bit of a weirdo because I like how this looks. Nice and cozy spot. Alright, let's do the finishing touches on the stable. Okay guys, I'm gonna bring you outside. Don't start any fights with pillagers, please. For this roof, I'm thinking about the sun and how it rises from over here. So this side of the roof should get a lot more sunlight than back here, which means this side will be more damp, which will lead to stuff growing on top. And also it would be more weathered. And right here, right below this dormer window, the rain would wear down the roof tiles as well. The tree would cast a shadow, so we'll also put in some dark blocks here. This side of the stable will be more shadowed because of the cliff and the tree, so under the roof overhang, we're gonna use the darker blocks. And then on this side, there's still a shadow underneath the overhang, but not as dark. The storage shed, we can add in more block variation. This corner right here, probably very damp. And then we can just sprinkle in the other tough stuff. Inside! Let's just rough up the stalls, get some light in here. In order to make the lantern look like it's glowing, I'm gonna change the blocks around it to be lighter ones. Like for this, we can use andesite. These can be oak. And we can do the same for the floor. The light from the outside would also be spilling inwards. So I want to change the floor here as well. Let's do the black and white trick. This way I can just decide based off of the value of the blocks. And I will go with something like this. Now right here is too dark. I did a bit more tweaking and it looks alright. And a little bit of extra detailing later, I decided to bring home one of the cats. You can protect the stables from creepers. Yes, you will. Green! And the inside of the stable is done. And all our friends are settling in. Back here we have some extra food for the horses, a little pathway, and I just cleaned up the edges and put in this retaining wall. So these llamas, I do have an idea for them, but with how much trouble they cause, I'm not sure if it's gonna work. I guess we'll see how it goes in the next episode. Here is one last look with the drawing. I'm happy that I built this at an angle, even if the roof did cause a bit of headache. Alright, that is it for this episode. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you soon.